An Ekiti State Chief Magistrate's Court has ordered the remand of, we're going straight into the thing, remand of human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi in the Ekiti Correctional Center. Farotimi faces allegations of defamation and cyberbullying based on claims in his book criticizing senior advocate of Nigeria, Afe Babalola. He pleaded not guilty to the 16-count charge and is set for trial on December 10, 2024. The police justified his arrest, citing established evidence of defamation and cyberstalking. The magistrate directed Farotimi to formally apply for bail while awaiting further proceedings. And Barrister Elvis Asia, a legal practitioner in Edo State, will be joining us for that discussion. Good morning and welcome to the program, Barrister.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the program. Just to correct that, I'm actually a legal practitioner practicing in Lagos, but I'm from Edo State.
Yeah, okay. Barrister Elvis Asia, legal practitioner in Lagos from Edo State. Okay, well, sorry for keeping you waiting because we should have started a little bit earlier. But this is what is happening. A human rights lawyer in his book may have documented some things, and they say that's defamation. He's been arrested. He's been remanded in prison until the 10th of December, and we don't know what will happen right after that. And just give us your take. What does this mean? What does this say about the legal profession, about free speech, and so many other things? Just let's get your take.
Well, I'm worried about a few things, but first, I think it must be established that criminal defamation is still a part of our laws. You know, and unfortunately, the Supreme Court had the opportunity in the case in 2021, I think in Aviomo versus the Commissioner of Police, to try to at least moderate the application of criminal defamation. But the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of those provisions in the Penal Code, which by extension is also in the Criminal Code, as applicable in the southern part of the country. To that extent, you know, it is still part of our laws, you know, and that of course, the right to freedom of expression is constitutionally guaranteed, but it's not a license to, you know, tell falsehoods and put out unverified information that may significantly harm the reputation of other members of the society. And again, in Section 45 of the Constitution allows derogations from the constitutionally guaranteed rights to freedom of expression in order to protect other members of society. And so the Supreme Court, in the case I had mentioned earlier, you know, looked at those provisions and concluded that those criminal defamation is constitutional. But it raises a serious question and concern with respect to, just like you said, the right to free speech. You know, but my major concern with this is not even the question whether or not we still have criminal legislations for defamation in our books. It's the circumstances surrounding the current travails of Farotimi that is really the issue. First, it was weeks away from Lagos all the way to Ekiti. And from my understanding, the publication in question was made in Lagos. Of course, those who decided to take him to Ekiti has to the jurisdiction of the complainant. They knew what they were doing because in Lagos, criminal defamation is no longer it's no longer a crime. And so perhaps they did that by way of foreign shopping in order to get to him, which is quite sad. And particularly when you look at the calibers of people that are being mentioned in relation to this. And so it's very worrisome. Another very worrisome aspect of it is the fact that the magistrates requested that his bail application should be put in writing. This is very strange to me from my practice. Magistrate courts grant bail without necessity of filing applications for bail. They grant bail orally, even when you don't ask for it. So by remanding him and not granting bail in circumstances, even on self-recognition, considering the fact that this is not an unknown person in the country, raises serious question about the process and the procedure. It smacks of vendetta, and that is really where the worry is with respect to this. And so, just to say that yes, it is actually possible for somebody to be prosecuted for criminal defamation, but that has to be done within the remits and confines of the law by the way and manner the Nigerian police force allows members of the public to file petitions for criminal defamation is actually alarming. Yes, it is still in our laws, but it is not meant to settle personal scores with people. I have a case, for example, currently where a young lady who's accusing somebody of rape was detained by the police on an alleged criminal defamation. And so, situations like this, it raises serious question about the fairness of our process, it raises question whether or not the police actually is serving the interests of the public. And so it is hoped that, this case will provide an opportunity for us to again interrogate this criminal defamation that we have and set the record straight with respect to the protection of freedoms freedom of speech as guaranteed by the Constitution. But like I said, don't also forget that there is the right, if somebody who feels that his reputation has been damaged by a false publication, actually also has a right in civil action to clear his name and also to seek damages. And
yes, I was concerned about the process. I was just concerned about the process. You say it's defamation, and you're not bringing contrary evidences to show that whatever the person said was defamation, where the things that he said were not true. That's the case that is happening with all investigative journalists right now. Once you say something, you discover something, you are arrested and you're locked up. One journalist was released just because Nigerians cried out. He would have been detained there for only God knows how long. Now this person has been detained. They say they're calling it cyberbullying, they're calling it defamation and all that. It just seems as if the definitions of these things are done according to who is involved, not what the book says. So at what point would you say a case of defamation will warrant the court to remand someone in prison and set a very far date for hearing of that case, and maybe after that will continue to be in detention? It worries me.
Well, no, I need to clarify that the remand process and the bail process is without prejudice to the merit of the case. Yes, the court is meant to look at facts and circumstances of the case in determining whether to grant bail, either in the remand proceedings or in another criminal process. The question of whether or not the matter has been proved in accordance with the burden of proof in criminal cases is really not an issue at that point. But unfortunately, at this point, in this particular case, the magistrate is yet to even consider the issue of bail with a view to looking at the facts and circumstances. So you are right to suggest that, looking at the circumstances of the case and looking at the proof of evidence that is brought by the police, the magistrate ought to, and I must say that this magistrate ought to have granted bail immediately without, and then adjourning for further proceedings. Not granting bail in circumstances really raises very serious fundamental question. I have always argued that the remand process is not it's not an administrative process where a magistrate just simply endorses what the police has brought to court. The remand process, it actually requires, places a duty and obligation of the magistrate to look at the proof of evidence before it, to see whether the police has established a probable cause, and to bail in deserving cases. Even like I said, in the magistrate court is a court of summary jurisdiction. It's not a high court that where you would require written applications for bail. even at the high court, up to the federal high court, there are instances where bails can be granted orally. At the magistrate court level, bails should be granted orally. And from my practice, in some cases, even without any request by anybody, it should be automatic. And so not granting bail circumstances, like I said, does not speak well, of the judiciary. Does not speak well of the process, the remand process that because what it means is that it gives room for the police and any aggrieved Nigerian to just lock up people, and that's what we are seeing in Nigeria. I'm not very comfortable with that style that was adopted by the magistrate in this particular case. He ought to have granted bail in the circumstances of the case.
It's funny because some of the things said in that book that they are even talking about and calling defamation is the compromise in the judicial system. And then the same judicial system is doing these in very shoddy ways that even you in the system do not understand what is going on. So I don't know what Nigerians will be feeling right now, because it seems as if in a subtle way, Nigerians are being gagged. You cannot say one thing or the other and get away with it. But just so I understand it, I'm not a legal practitioner, this case, is it criminal or civil? Barrister, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Oh, okay. I was just asking, this case, let's just establish the severity of this case for some of us who do not know. Is it a civil case or a criminal case?
No, under Nigerian law, defamation can be civil and criminal. So there's a civil case. On the basis of the same facts, you can actually institute a civil case and a criminal case. And like I said earlier, the Supreme Court has endorsed our criminal legislations on criminal defamation. And the Supreme Court has said that it is not inconsistent with the constitutional right to free speech. So it is possible to institute a criminal action for defamation in Nigeria and also a civil action. And let me also say that internationally, it's not just only in Nigeria. There are so many countries of the world where defamation is criminalized. In fact, UNESCO recently raised the alarm that over 160 countries of the world still have provisions for criminal defamation in their legislations. And that in recent times, many countries, as a result of social media, defamation and all of that, has even increased as many countries are making stiffer provisions for defamation. So it can be civil and it can be criminal. There's nothing, I wouldn't say, question whether or not the complainant was justified to file a criminal complaint. It's something that will be determined by the court eventually. But legally speaking, generally, you can actually pursue an action for criminal defamation.
Okay, what are the options as we wrap up? What are the options open to Nigerians who might fall victim to this? Because sometimes, for instance, a politician will just wake up and say, you were saying things that are not true about me, is defamation, and then you are locked up. What are the options open to Nigerians who might be in this situation? Because like I said earlier, definitions of what defamation is, or cyberbullying as the terms were used on this case or in this case, depend on who is involved. So what do you need to do at that point where you're just whisked away and put away?
The definitions of the terms does not actually determine who is involved. I think it is the abuse of the process that you're talking about. What we see is that there's a Nigerian thing about trying to oppress people. There's a Nigerian thing about trying to show that you have power and influence, and in the process, you abuse the legal process to just punish people. I think that's what you are speaking about. The definition of defamation is clear, even under the criminal legislations that we have. There are so many exceptional situations where you are free, where you cannot be liable for criminal defamation if you are making publications on matters of serious public interest. And if you can justify what you have published you shouldn't be liable for criminal defamation. And so I think the first option is to ensure that what you publish is something you can that's verifiable. You know, what you publish should be matters in respect of which you have accurate information to back them up. And then another important thing is that there are defenses that are available to you under the law, you know, which are very clear. Like I said earlier, the mere fact that you have made a publication, it does not conclusively mean that it is criminal. There are exceptional situations created by law, and so you have to be able to put yourself within those exceptions. Like I said, you have to be able to show, for example, that what you are publishing is a matter of serious public national importance, and that you are justified to make those publications. And so those are some of the steps. Those are some of the things that we as Nigerians needs to do. But let me also speak to those who are abusing this process. Well, what goes around comes around. This idea of entrenching a system where the policing powers, where even the judiciary is used in such a manner as to oppress people, is not really going to do anybody any good. And I look at other countries where you have criminal defamation legislations. You don't hear of journalists. You don't hear of honorary people being pursued for criminal defamation in the way and manner it is done in Nigeria. Criminal defamation shouldn't be engaged to settle personal scores. And on this particular occasion, I would have thought that a legal practitioner of repute, with an array of senior advocates in the office, should probably, maybe if I were in the shoes, I would have explored the civil option of trying to clear my name and claiming damages for whatever false publication that I see. But to use the criminal process in the manner that we are seeing is not really something that is encouraging. So yes, Nigerians, you must know that the right to free speech is not an absolute right. It can be deviated from even under the Constitution. And so you must be wary of the things you publish. Make sure that they are verifiable. Make sure that there's at least some justification for those publications.
Yeah, just before we go, can someone who is not financially capable have legal representation? Because people will be interested in that. We've seen people who have been taken to prison because they said one thing or the other about the governor. And you read all the things that they said about the governor, and you are wondering where the defamation came from, the cyberbullying came from. That's why I was talking about definitions, as if it depends on who is involved. These are normal things you say. Maybe there was a budget to the state government and they were supposed to do X, Y, Z, and they didn't do it, and you publish it. They say it's an embarrassment to the governor, and you're taken to prison and all that. Some of these people cannot even have legal representation because they don't have that money, but they could just buy data that maybe they put it out on Facebook or any other social media. It has happened a lot of times. So can they have legal representation that they can afford?
Well, there are so many civil society groups that provides free legal services, that provides pro bono services. Many lawyers also do so. The Nigerian Bar Association also have committees charged with the duty of assisting indigent people in the situation you have described. So people need to avail themselves of those opportunities.
Okay.
You can search online for information that will lead you to a lawyer that will be willing to assist you. And quite frankly, the scenario that you have described, those are not the kind of defamation situation that can be criminal, not even civil. You actually have the right to make your opinion and judgments about how budgets have been applied across the country. Nobody should be sent to jail for that. Like I told you, this is what we are seeing is clear cases of abuse of the process. And so every civil society group Nigerian Bar Association, and all lawyers, must rise up to this occasion to protect Nigerians from these brazen actions of powerful people in the country who just want to silence all opposing views.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Barrister Asia, for your time this morning. I understand your schedule is really tight, but you still made out some time to come talk with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We've been talking with Barrister Elvis Asia, a legal practitioner, on the case of Farotimi, who has been remanded in jail on the case of defamation and cyberbullying, according to what the accusation is. So we're going to take a short break now, and when we return, we're looking at the tax reform bills that have been suspended by the National Assembly because of controversy. Stay with us.